Bernie Sanders, man of consistency. So I was talking to my new friend, Joshua, from New Progressive Voice. I highly encourage you to like his channel. I'll leave it down in the comments. So I was having a conversation with Joshua about Bernie Sanders, and he proposed to me, like, how weird would it be if Bernie Sanders has been speaking the same thing for 30 to 40 years, the same things he's speaking today, present day, 2019. How weird would it be if he got into office and he totally gypped us on those things he's been talking about for literally decades on end? How weird would that be? It would just be so weird to hold positions that you've had for 40 years, attain the office you want, and then just not do it. Or not try. At least try. You got to work with Congress, I get it. But at least try is what I'm saying. Because so many candidates are on the campaign trail. They're speaking, they're giving us their rhetoric. They're giving us policies, hopefully, right? And when they get in there, what happens? It goes away. It never manifests. It will never come to fruition. And that's such a huge problem, and that's what's so frustrating about politicians. And when you think about that one a little bit harder, you understand why half the country doesn't vote. Because of stuff like that. When you hear your candidate on the campaign trail and they're talking their issues, they're talking the rhetoric you want to hear, they're saying all the things you want to hear from a politician, and then when they get in there, crickets. Nothing. And with Bernie Sanders, he's such a unique situation. He presents a unique situation because he's just been talking the same thing for 40 years. And, do I have to question Bernie Sanders that he's going to push for those things after 40 years of having the same consistent stances on policies and ideas? Do I trust Bernie Sanders to follow through? And the answer is a resounding yes. Most politicians never get that. They don't have that deep well of ideas and policy that they've been supporting their whole lives, like Bernie Sanders does. And when you see a Bernie rally, when you hear a Bernie rally, Josh was talking about this too. Like, it's the same thing every time, but it's just as exciting. And it's hard to get that combination right. Usually you hear the same thing over and over, you get bored. It's kind of drab, and it gets very redundant and stale quick. But not with Bernie Sanders. Every time I see a rally and I listen to it, I'm excited every time. But I just heard the same thing he said in another state a day or two ago. It's almost verbatim what he said a day or two ago. And I listened to it again. I'm like, yes, I get goosebumps. Like, just be honest, I get goosebumps when I hear that man talk. I believe in what he's saying. But most importantly, I believe in his follow-through. And so many candidates fail on the follow-through because they're not results-oriented. They're not politically. They don't have political integrity. They don't have moral integrity. They just do what they can to get in office. But it's so rare to have a politician be as consistent as Bernie Sanders is. I admire this man's consistency to have decades, and on video, we have the evidence, okay? We have the evidence of his consistency, speaking for decades on end of the same issues about climate change, about a living wage, about free college, just about all the things the rest of the Western world has. He's been fighting for us. So I know you may be weary about politicians, and you have every right to be. But when I see this man's consistency over a span of 40 years, it gets me excited and gets me hopeful and that's a scary word too. Hope is a 4-letter word. It's really scary sometimes to have hope and faith in politicians, because we've been burned so many times, and I feel that. I know what you're feeling there. But Bernie Sanders, I just wanted to run that by you. A man of consistency. I believe he could take that consistency to the White House and implement the things he's been talking about for 40 or plus years.